This is just the beginning of what would go down as one of the greatest years in professional wrestling history. This is WWE in 2016. A year that truly restored the feeling for me in a way I never saw coming. This year had everything. Surprise debuts, returns, legendary matches, feuds, moments. Not to mention a year where they successfully brought back the brand split and perfectly executed on excellent content across all three brands. And I'm only going to briefly touch on NXT from this period of time because NXT from 2014 all the way to 2019 deserves its own retrospective. While 2015 was kinda mid, WWE's 2016 was a transformative year marked by significant changes both behind the scenes and in the product itself. From the brand split to the rise of new stars, the year was a blend of game-changing strides and some controversial moments. And 2016 really did a spectacular job at adapting to the new dynamics of the wrestling world and understanding what the audience now wanted to see instead of just being incredibly out of touch all the time. 2016 was the time where WWE proved that they could still provide peak cinema. And then 2017 to 2020 destroyed the entire feeling, but The debut of AJ Styles in the 2016 Royal Rumble in January set a precedent that this year wasn't going to be just another year. It was going to be different. AJ Styles, a man who many thought would never make the walk into a WWE ring, fresh off his New Japan run and a couple years removed from TNA, was now going face to face with WWE's best. Now you could go ahead and make the argument that AJ Styles' first few months in the WWE were a little bit underwhelming, going on to have that tag team Y2 AJ with Chris Jericho and then the match against Jericho at WrestleMania ultimately losing that one. But you just don't get it. The idea of seeing AJ Styles in a WWE ring, it was enough for me. My God. Other key things during this pre-WrestleMania period were the entertaining New Day segments like the one with The Rock.
You are obviously extremely entertaining.
Smart man. Go ahead and clap. Obviously.
But here's what's amazing. What's amazing is the fact that you are that entertaining when you still wear llama penises strapped to your head.
You also had the infamous return of Shane McMahon. This return is one of my all-time favorites. It's absolutely fantastic. You also had WrestleMania 32, which, controversial opinion, but I don't think that Mania was that bad. I know, Roman Reigns was being pushed down our throats, but honestly, I think him versus Triple H was built pretty well, and it set him up for a legendary run of matches post-WrestleMania. You also went ahead and had the Intercontinental title ladder match where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn did their thing, ultimately won by Zack Ryder? I could not believe it either. Part of me still can't believe that they went ahead and had Zack Ryder win the IC title at WrestleMania, but what a moment it was. And this is no Zack Ryder slander. I loved Zack Ryder as a kid, okay? That first year that I was really getting into wrestling when he became United States Champion against Ziggler, I think it was. I spoke about it a little bit in my Smackdown vs. Raw 2011 retrospective, but Zack Ryder, around that time, he had me doing everything. I was buying the merch, I was saying woo woo woo, you know I was out here saying take care and spike your hair, even though I had a fucking afro. I can't spike my hair, but goddammit, I tried for you, Zach. I tried for you. And when it comes to the Long Island IZ, I was watching the YouTube show as well, okay? A pioneer of wrestlers making YouTube content. Let's talk about it. Zack Ryder in 2011. Man, I don't know what they were doing to him in 2012. They kind of cooked him for no real reason. But 2011 Zack Ryder. And going back to 2016, he was largely irrelevant for years after that initial push. And then suddenly, he was champion for 24 hours.
Yeah, Miz's wife. Oh, man. Good. Miz, skull-crushing finale. Zack was distracted. The 5-time Intercontinental Champion.
The Miz would take it from him the next night on Raw, The Miz reuniting with Maurice on that same night as well. It's also another amazing part of this year. They were so good together and always will be. You can also look at Roman Reigns' post-Mania run as a pretty significant part of why this year was successful. Don't get me wrong, for as much as this era of Roman Reigns may have drawn his fair share of haters, his matches with the likes of AJ Styles after WrestleMania and of course that Seth Rollins match at Money in the Bank were absolutely phenomenal and showed that he can hang in the ring right there. Thankfully, of course, when it comes to Roman Reigns, he figured it out eventually and became one of the greatest of all time. One of the most significant events of 2016 was the return of the WWE brand split, a decision that had major implications for the company's roster, storytelling, and pay-per-views going forward. After years of a unified roster, WWE made the bold move to once again separate its talent pool between Monday Night Raw and Smackdown, which would now be going live and moving to Tuesdays, where they had been taping it for years. The idea basically being to give certain superstars and more wrestlers some more screen time on a live show, while also restoring the feeling of the rivalry aspect of both brands that they had in the 2000s as well. And let me tell you something, the first couple years of this brand split did just that. Whether it was the Shane O'Mac Under Siege angle, or even the Survivor Series 2016 Fantasy Warfare. In the first SmackDown Live post-brand split, the WWE ushered in a new era with Shane O'Mac and Daniel Bryan leading the blue brand. The draft took place on July 19, 2016, with stars like John Cena, AJ Styles, and Dean Ambrose being key picks for SmackDown, while Raw picked Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Charlotte Flair, Finn Balor, amidst others.
Our next draft choice comes from NXT. Finn Balor.
Wow! Oh my gosh, unbelievable! Who would have thought that an NXT star would go in the top 5 picks by Finn Balor? This guy is special. This guy is going to be something else.
The brand split allowed for a more diverse storytelling style, with Raw leaning into a more traditional sports entertainment style and SmackDown embracing a more wrestling-focused approach, kinda like they did during the SmackDown 6 days. The return of the brand split also resulted in the return of a separate pay-per-view event schedule for each brand, with events like Battleground, Clash of Champions, and No Mercy becoming staples of the new era. With that being said, Battleground 2017 made everyone wish they didn't, but I digress for now. That pay-per-view sucks. It reinvigorated WWE's storytelling approach, with more emphasis on in-ring competition and the spotlight being shared across more talent. And those early months of SmackDown Live, man, they were must-watch TV every single week. There is a ton I could mention, a ton of moments and little things we could dive into in its own video when it comes to SmackDown Live in 2016-17, but specifically I've got to go ahead and give a shout out to The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. No Mercy 2016 career versus title, one of the standouts of that beginning era for SmackDown Live. Don't get me wrong, Monday Night Raw was on fire too, but SmackDown in 2016 had an aura I don't think we've truly seen since. It really did feel like a fresh start for SmackDown, and not just a, we're gonna go ahead and repaint the house, we're putting a new shade of blue over it, and that's a new era, bang, Stephanie, WWF is back. This was new, and it was largely helped by the accompanying show, Talking Smack.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talking Smack. I'm your host, Renee Young. Joining me, my co-host, the general manager of SmackDown Live, Daniel Bryan. Hello.
Hey.
And also, before we get into Talking Smack, because I have a lot to say about Talking Smack, and this will not be the only time I talk about this magnificent creation of a show, but I also have to real quick give a shout out to Mauro Ranallo, another man that was a part of this initial SmackDown Live era and WWE around this time. One of the best commentators of all time across all of sports. Love you, Mauro Ranallo. I wish you were still in WWE. Fantastic commentator. But I really do have every intention of making an entirely separate video on Talking Smack and even rewatching a few episodes. But to briefly touch on it, this show gave birth to this infamous moment, which had a ripple effect of its own.
I don't get injured for 6 months to a year. I am here each and every week. But you sit there and call me a coward? Yeah. I'm the coward. Wait, let me tell you about a coward. Let me tell you about a guy who tells his WWE fans, the people that he loves, that he will be back. He promises them. I promise you, I will be back in 1 year's time to claim this title. But you didn't, Daniel, did you? But I'm the coward. Okay, I'm the one that doesn't love the fans.
If they would let me come back, I would come back.
Oh, if you would?
Yeah.
You would. You love that WWE ring. You love being wrestling. You love being right in that wrestling ring, and you love wrestling, right? Well, why don't you quit? Why don't you quit and go to the bingo halls with your indie friends?
Okay, I think you need to calm.
No,
that's not what this show's about.
The GM have this. Thank you very much, Renee. This is a great show, but we're talking here. I need to talk to you real quick, because the fact is, you're the one that calls me the coward, but you're the one that doesn't get in the WWE ring again. No, don't you walk away from me, Daniel. Don't you walk away.
Eventually leading to the in-ring return of Daniel Bryan a year and a half later, but more on that later.
If you don't, John, you're a liar. And if you do, you're a loser. Either way, I win.
2016 was also a year that saw the rise of several new stars and the continued development of WWE's younger talent, particularly through NXT call-ups. But AJ Styles, who I mentioned earlier, was one of the biggest success stories of the entire year. You want to go ahead and talk about 2000's Jeff Hardy? That's fine, but let me go ahead and raise 2016 AJ Styles. After joining WWE in very early 2016, Styles quickly became one of the top wrestlers on Smackdown Live. His feud with John Cena culminating in a classic match at SummerSlam and his subsequent WWE Championship win at Backlash solidified him as the new face of the blue brand. He quite literally became the face that ran the place in one summer. Money in the Bank 2016 also featuring the first time ever match of Styles against Cena, which, just for the moment at the start alone, made it an all-time electric atmosphere.
It is electric in Vegas.
Only ever so often do you get to experience something like this. So get in.
And do not even get me started on SummerSlam 2016. I've rewatched their match at SummerSlam 2016 so many times. Like, do you understand how shocking it was that Mr. TNA himself had just pinned WWE's #1 guy? And not just pinned him once using Punk tactics like I'm gonna hit you with the Punk tactics. No, literally, again, clean as a whistle. I said, what the hell is going on here? Ball game, this year's a banger.
He knows he wasn't going to hit the cover. Here comes that phenomenal bomb, and he nailed it. He just beat John Cena at SummerSlam. AJ Styles does it again.
His performances in the ring combined with his ability to connect with fans made him a mainstay in WWE's main event scene. Seth Rollins also had a standout year, continuing his role as a top heel on Monday Night Raw while delivering excellent matches as well. Although I do gotta go ahead and speak my truth here. Seth Rollins at SummerSlam 2015, the white attire, all-time great. At 2016 SummerSlam, the green, ew, yuck. That shit was ass, dog. I'ma be straight up with you.
It's Seth Rollins! It's Seth Rollins! A pedigree! Seth Rollins is back!
Of course, infamously watching Mania from the sidelines after having to give up his WWE title the previous November due to injury. But even returning 5 months in, Rollins did his thing this year. His rivalry with Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship leading to several special moments. You have the Reigns banger at Money in the Bank 2016 where he finally reclaims the title he never lost, but you also have Ambrose winning Money in the Bank and cashing in on the same night, so all Shield members were WWE Champion on the same frickin' night.
For 2 times, Seth Rollins is standing up. Please don't! Is he gonna run? No, dear God, no!
And then you also had the Shield triple threat at Battleground 2016. Shit. 2016 was genuinely insane, man. Like, what a sensational time. And don't get me wrong, by the way, I'm not one of these pessimists who's like, oh, WWE hasn't been good since then. We need to go back. Oh, the pandemic ruined everything. It's hopeless. No, I'm not one of those people at all. Don't get me wrong, 2016 is probably my favorite wrestling year of all time. But with that being said, 2024 has made a very strong argument for also superseding what 2016 was, because this year has also been pretty lit. I mean, think about the formula that made 2016 so special. Huge moments, surprises, very well booked storylines, great professional wrestling, and all 3 brands, both women, men, and tag teams, firing on all cylinders. Who exactly does that remind you of? Charlotte Flair was also a superstar who solidified her position as one of WWE's top women's wrestlers with her dominant reign as Raw Women's Champion. And of course, the year before in 2015, having dethroned my Total Divas GOAT Nikki Bella to win the Divas Championship, and then also continuing her reign, winning the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania, and continuing her royal ascent to being one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. But I got a little bit more than 2 words for you. I got 2 things to say to you. First of all, I still don't think we talk about this match enough at all. And second of all, I've spoke a lot about the downfall of Charlotte Flair, but wow, was she great around this time. And my fall-off argument is really only that she basically spent most of her career so far being a lazy regurgitation of the same character with a different flavor of sprinkles for the last decade. Meanwhile, every other horsewoman has shown that they have range in their characters and turns, like Bayley and Becky especially, but Charlotte for me just hasn't done that. Regardless, Charlotte's rivalry with Sasha Banks broke the WWE Women's Revolution into the next gear, especially with their series of historic matches such as the first ever Women's Hell in a Cell match between the two at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. And speaking about people who have fallen off, Let's talk about Braun Strowman. He also began to emerge as one of the company's most dominant monsters. His shocking feats of strength and destructive performances helped him transition from a lackluster tag partner in the Wyatt family to a destructive force of his own. Went ahead and took Roman Reigns' invincibility cheat off like he was in GTA 5. They reset the cheat. They said, no more invincibility for you, Roman. We're gonna make you look human now, and Braun Strowman is gonna be the one to fucking do it.
To rep it, to believe in it. Oh my God! Wow!
Braun Strowman, for as much as I think he's fallen off slightly, the initial Monster Among Men run was a part of what made 2016 Raw so interesting as well. And it also gave birth to another new character of this new era, James Ellsworth. A jabroni who really was only supposed to be destroyed by Braun and then check himself into the Smackdown hotel, but ended up sticking around for many more cameos. And for as much as he is definitely the definition of a jobber, he was quite entertaining in various interactions.
You know what happens to weird-looking guys here on Raw? You know what happens, Vince McMahon, to weird-looking guys here on Raw? You just made the list! Oh no! Sasha Banks has realized her dream here tonight on Raw!
2016 was a breakthrough year for the women of WWE, who had gained increased prominence over the past few years thanks to the Give Divas a Chance movement. The continuation of the women's revolution saw women in WWE taking center stage in major storylines and matches. The introduction of the Raw Women's Championship and SmackDown Women's Championship after the brand split marked a new era for women's wrestling. And of course, across that early period of SmackDown Live, that first year or two, we saw the rise of stars like Carmella, Alexa Bliss, and Becky Lynch, my goat. Speaking of goats, you also had the boat, Natalya, winning the Women's Championship as well in 2017. Shout out to Natalya as always. By the end of 2016, Charlotte was firmly established as one of the top heels in the company, and Sasha Banks was proving herself as one of the best in-ring performers in WWE and most lovable baby faces.
Go! Sasha Banks night! Is it her night? She's champion! Sasha's a champion!
Nia Jax also emerged as a strong contender for the women's division, signaling the continued depth and competition in the women's roster. Although, to be honest, if we're being realistic, Nia Jax's prime and her best run is what we're seeing right now. She's killing it right now, and I don't care what anyone has to say about it. She is. Down in NXT in 2016, which again deserves its own video for this era, but you had Bayley and Asuka delivering a historic feud that saw Asuka go on her legendary title run.
And new NXT Women's Champion,
You also had the return of the legendary Mickie James in 2016 down in NXT, before she would get involved in a bunch of main roster storylines in 2017 and beyond. Although sadly, when it comes to Mickie James, all the special feel that Mickie had coming back was quickly washed away because she just became the shadow of Alexa Bliss. And by the way, that's less of a Alexa Bliss slander piece. In fact, it's not Alexa Bliss slander at all. She was absolute peak during the late 2010s, but Mickie James does and always will deserve better, in my opinion. Get her in the Hall of Fame yesterday. NXT also had future up-and-coming stars like the Live of My Life, Liv Morgan, or the Iconics, and they also had, who else did they have? Oh, I'm not ready to talk about this. I think it's still too soon. Their match alone with The Revival, another insanely cracked tag team at NXT TakeOver Dallas, is nothing short of brilliant. Listen, man, just hearing the words grand amplitude, it'll bring any man down to their fucking knees crying, okay? Oh, we need to revisit 2016 NXT at some point. It's so good. That entire era, it's
Finn Balor makes history. Finn Balor is the inaugural Universal Champion.
Speaking of NXT's golden era, Finn Balor to me is one of the most interesting case studies of a wrestler in WWE history. Finn Balor's entire up and down trajectory throughout his entire WWE career, sometimes he's being booked well, sometimes he's not, sometimes he's injured, sometimes he's not, sometimes he's champion, sometimes he's not. It's insane, it's nuts, it's insane in the man brain.
Go to the top rope, Balor's opportunity, Coup de grace, Finn Balor cover, hooks the leg, Balor's done it, oh my God, Balor's going to SummerSlam.
Nobody could have seen this coming, as Finn Balor was clearly the poster boy for the new era, becoming the inaugural Universal Champion at SummerSlam.
Finn is now
Hey, look, Lise.
Actually, pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half.
Finn Balor getting injured just as fast as he would reach the top of the mountain and being out until Mania the next year, relinquishing the title in the process, is still so devastating. Hey guys, I guess you could go ahead and say that it's pretty devastating.
It took my breath.
Although with that being said, there's always a silver lining because Finn Balor's injury left the door open for another man to capitalize, and it led to this moment on Monday Night Raw.
Are you kidding me? Kevin Owens the cover. Kevin Owens is the Universal Champion.
Good golly, Miss Molly, he did it. Wow, man, wow. Kevin Owens going on a run of his own, but I'd be remiss to mention Kevin Owens and not mention Chris Jericho.
You know what? Big E, you just made the list.
His list of Jericho segments garnering much fan applause, and seemingly everything he touched for a while turned to gold. Every single back and forth he had with Kevin Owens during this time was absolutely perfect.
That's a big problem. You better watch it. Watch what? It.
That mistake that he made that got him suspended, that embarrasses me. That soils my good name.
Despite the success of the brand split and the rise of new talent, 2016 wasn't without its challenges and its controversy. The year saw some controversies like the continued incessant push of Roman Reigns, which would finally slow down after he violated the wellness policy midway through the year, which kinda somewhat led to this perfect storm with a star like Finn Balor beating him clean and Roman going to be United States champion for a while, as I guess a bit of a punishment, I don't know. Another controversy of 2016 involved Brock Lesnar and his failed drug test after his match at UFC 200, which is also right around the time when he busted Randy Orton's head wide open at SummerSlam and everyone was like, was that a part of the show or? Pretty nice to see someone kick Brock Lesnar's ass until he started kicking the ass of people we like, and then we didn't want to play with him anymore. Other things from 2016 I could go ahead and mention are like Triple H having a match on Monday Night Raw against Dolph Ziggler earlier in the year. I think it was like midway through March, just before WrestleMania. That was random but fire, hashtag it. And I imagine that there is someone watching this video that appreciates this fatal four-way just as much as I do, because this right here does not get talked about nearly enough. This is one of the most perfect fatal four-way matches I've ever seen in my entire life.
I just got chills running down my body. If you have not seen Kota Ibushi, he is going to knock your socks off.
2016 also saw WWE begin a new expansion of tournament-style shows. Stuff like the United Kingdom Tournament, the Mae Young Classic, and of course, the Cruiserweight Classic. But specifically, this was the year where the WWE Universe was introduced to just how special Gargano and Ciampa were going to be for NXT. Which of course all led to them facing the Revival at NXT TakeOver Toronto 2016 in that 2 out of 3 Falls tag team match. You also had Kota Ibushi versus Cedric Alexander in this tournament as another fantastic element of this special run that they were on. And while I'm talking about matches that you should either go watch for the first time or maybe rewatch if you were around and watching back then, but let's go ahead and talk about 2016 Sami Zayn. Good grief. These two matches alone right here are two of the greatest matches that I've ever had the pleasure of watching. Seriously. The nature of Shinsuke Nakamura's debut and first year in WWE's NXT brand, accompanied with the swan song of Sami Zayn as the heart and soul of the black and gold, wow. 2016 was a substantial transformational year for WWE, with the brand split and the rise of new stars leading to a more diverse and compelling product. The company successfully booked fresh talent like AJ Styles while continuing to build on its women's revolution and its developmental. Ultimately, WWE in 2016 can be viewed as a bit of a bridge between what the past was and what the future would become.